The Broken Blueprint, Part 2, Transitions. Both men begin medical training. So Sutherland decided to attend classes in Nashville, but he had difficulty coaxing Megan, who was not interested, to also enroll. Finally, Megan decided to go with him. How different the future might have been if Megan had decided not to go along and obtain a master's degree. Megan described the school. I think I realize more than ever before the necessity of Sister White's warning our young people against going to these medical schools. They are certainly bad places, although there are many good people connected with them. There is such smoking, chewing, swearing, coarse and obscene language. Megan to W.C. White, October 3, 1910. While living on campus, they enrolled in August 1910 and commuted back and forth on motorcycles, which, due to winter weather and the gravel roads, was a dangerous activity. As a premonition of future developments, Dr. Evans was given an urgent call to come help with the new school at Loma Linda. But he replied that he would not leave until a qualified physician could take his place. In 1911, an even more urgent call came for Dr. Evans to come to Loma Linda, and so he left. Sutherland and Megan still had 3 years to go, but Dr. Lillian, with the help of Juilliard and the others, kept the sanitarium in operation. While the two men were taking the medical course, Megan got to thinking, and from time to time expressed himself to Sutherland. If I were out there at Loma Linda, I would work as hard as I could to get it fully accredited to train physicians. For some reason, although it would surely seem that both men were fully grounded in the educational blueprint, neither one clearly understood this aspect of the blueprint. Ellen White's repeated statements about avoiding all union with worldly educational institutions and agencies, which men such as John Burden, Dr. John Knapp, Abbott, Warren E. Howell, S.N. Haskell, and Dr. Howard F. Rand clearly understood, were not understood by Percy Megan. Even Dr. W. A. Rubel understood the principle to some extent, but neither Megan nor Sutherland did. On June 16, 1914, Sutherland and Megan both graduated with the MD degree. Sutherland was 49 years old and Megan was 45. Percy and Lillian go to Loma Linda. A month later, a distinguished visitor arrived, Elder E. E. Andros, president of the board of the College of Medical Evangelists. He brought with him Dr. Newton Evans, who in August had been elected president of CME. They had come to urge Percy Megan to join the faculty of the new institution, but he said no. In February 1915, Megan was invited to accompany Dr. Rubel and Evans to Chicago to meet with the AMA board in their ongoing efforts to accreditate CME. At that time, Megan, a natural-born salesman, made important contacts with some of the highest leaders in the AMA. At Chicago, Megan for the first time faced CME's accreditation problems, and his determination to help Loma Linda obtain full accreditation crystallized. The next time he was asked to join the CME staff, he accepted. The year was 1915. He had been elected dean of the school. Sutherland was heartbroken and said, "This is like tearing asunder bone and marrow." They had been together some 30 years. Ellen White's warning of June 8, 1909, quoted earlier, had been forgotten. Megan had been lured away from Madison. Decades later, Sutherland would also be lured away to a high-level church office. When Megan left, he, of course, took Dr. Lillian with him. First, Dr. Evans had gone to Loma Linda, now Dr. and Dr. Megan. Sutherland felt crushed to the ground, and the others with him. Yet, the workers at Madison determined that their sacrifices would help a sister school. Later, as the financial crisis at Loma Linda deepened, in its efforts to meet accrediting requirements, Sutherland contacted some friends who gave funds to help Loma Linda. Truly, the folks at Madison had an unselfish spirit. Statement by a government leader. In late 1913, a librarian from Nashville had been a patient at the Madison Sanitarium and was astonished at the school. Shortly afterward, when she married Dr. P.P. Claxton, U.S. Commissioner of Education, she suggested that, as part of their honeymoon, they visit the campus. When they did, this high-ranking government official got a chance to see the Spirit of Prophecy blueprint in action. Here is his glowing description of what he saw. There are new things, and here is one. A school that is self-supporting, a school that receives no aid from public or invested funds and asks none. A school that young men and women may enter without money, finish standard courses of study under well-prepared teachers, gain practical experience for life and for making a living, and live unhampered by debt. A school that has succeeded in making all instruction definite, attractive, inspiring, and practical. A school that has succeeded in dignifying labor and making it highly profitable, both educationally and financially. Here, students, teachers, and directors, working together, constitute a self-supporting, democratic educational community, the like of which I do not know, a fulfillment of the hopes and dreams of educators and philanthropists. I have seen many schools of all grades in many countries, but none more interesting than this. Nowhere else have I seen so much accomplished with so little money. I know of no other place where so much can be accomplished by the investment of the small amount of money now needed by the school to provide the buildings and equipment necessary for a logical expansion of its work. Dr. P.P. Claxton statement reprinted in Madison Survey, October 1, 1950, pages 2 to 3. Sutherland considers accreditation. After Percy and Lillian permanently left for California in 1915, Sutherland and his associates gave consideration as to what should be done next. Megan's earlier repeated assertions that, if he were at Loma Linda, he would help them obtain full accreditation for their physician's course, stuck in Sutherland's thinking. Could it be, he thought, that Madison could obtain full accreditation for a nurse's training program? With his usual vigor, he set to work examining the possibilities. Just as Gideon, many centuries before, had been restless to do something new, something which ultimately destroyed his offspring. Patriarchs and Prophets, pages 555, paragraph 5 to page 556. So Sutherland started out on a path which would eventually destroy Madison. More on this later. Friday, July 16. Ellen White passed to her rest. Believers everywhere mourned deeply. It was as if their mother had died. Lida Scott joins Madison. In 1914, Mrs. Lida Scott, 1868 to 1945, a daughter of multimillionaire Dr. Isaac K. Funk of Funk and Wagnalls Publishing Company, and the sister of Wilfred Funk, its owner at that time, visited Madison as a patient. She had heard of the good work it was doing throughout the South, and she came to investigate. Just prior to arriving, She had lost her only child who died in an auto accident. But at Madison, she encountered a Christian spirit and warm and loving friends. Although reared in a luxurious home, she decided to throw in her lot with the pioneers at Madison and lived there for years. With the passing of time, she helped fund many of the new institutions and projects. With the passing of S.N. Haskell in 1922, she replaced him as one of the Rainbow Seven. In 1924, she was instrumental in establishing the Lehman Foundation, which fosters self-supporting work throughout the South. Lyda Scott totally devoted herself to promoting the independent ministries. Later descriptions of Madison. Here is a description of Madison penned by Lyda Scott in 1929. Practically 100% of our 234 students in high school and junior college are working their entire way, and there are 24 degreed teachers and 32 heads of industrial departments operated by teachers and students, beside 30 children in the demonstration school being supported from the profits of the industrial departments. It is evident that these departments must be on a paying basis and must be conducted by artisans of no ordinary ability and devotion. We feel that we have met this necessity. Lyda Scott, the GFP body, December 16, 1929. Elsewhere in that same letter, she penned these words which provide us with an outstanding description of Madison in 1929. We already have good teachers of the trades who are as interested as the rest of us in developing the industries to where they will not only take care of the salaries of all our teachers, but will give employment to an increasing student body. I feel that a very happy solution to this nagging problem has been found and is one of our outstanding assets. In the industrial departments are included 1. Agriculture, horticulture, bees, dairying, gardening, forestry, poultry, stock raising, landscape gardening, road making. 2. Mechanical arts including plumbing, electricity, blacksmithing, auto mechanics, millwork, building and painting, printing, machine work, cabinet work. 3. Food work, bakery, food factory, canning, local and the city cafeteria, grist mill, sales department. 4. Laundry. 5. Dressmaking, tailoring, weaving, basketry. 6. Sanitarium and hospital of 100 beds, nursing education, treatment rooms, local and the city. 7. Business. 8. Household economics. In all, there are approximately 40 distinct lines of activity in which students earn their way. Lyda Scott, I bid. A.W. Spalding, one of our denomination's historians, later wrote this description of Madison. It was their purpose to build the sanitarium, not as a distinct institution, but as an integral part of the school. It must partake of the simplicity of the school. It must make the same appeal to country environment and life, and it must have its part in educating the students for service. To many people, the name sanitarium conveys the idea of an immense building, with elevators, steam heats, expensive apparatus, gymnasium equipped with many artificial appliances for exercise, and an atmosphere of artificial life. When one comes upon the Madison Rural Sanitarium, the contrast is so strong that it frequently calls forth an exclamation of wonder. Arranged on 3 sides of a hollow square, with every room fronting on the veranda and open to light and air on 2 sides, the little 1-story sanitarium seems not an institution, but the quiet retreat of a country home. The building is surrounded by the trees and bluegrass sward. The sweeping view is beautiful, the quiet is impressive and restful. Patients accustomed to the noise and smoke-laden air of the city at once appreciate the quiet of the rural sanitarium. The equipment is simple, consisting mostly of the hydropathic appliances in the two small treatment departments. For the healing of the sick, reliance is placed upon the natural remedies of fresh air, sunshine, water, proper diet, exercise, peace, and the joy. Arthur W. Spalding, The Men of the Mountains, page 231. Sutherland, in his studies of educational history, had earlier found that when Thomas Jefferson planned the University of Virginia, he decided that the school should only have small buildings both to house students and for class instruction. There was less risk of fire and disease, could be built as funds became available, were easier to erect, encouraged self-government, and made institutional expansion easier and more flexible. Both Madison, as well as many of the little units spawned by Madison over the years, generally followed that pattern. Patronage of the Madison Sanitarium had continually grown. One new cottage after another was built for this purpose. This was in accordance with Sutherland's plan of having small buildings. By 1927, when North Hall, 12 rooms, was built, there were 47 rooms in the several cottages. Additional description of Madison. An article, Self-Supporting College, in the May 1938 issue of the Reader's Digest on this amazing school, which was unlike any other in the world, resulted in 5,000 inquiries from prospective students, many of them non-Adventist. Madison's curriculum includes 27 industries run by the students to support the college and themselves. Every student is required to work for at least half, and preferably all, of his academic expenses. He can enter Madison, as 2/3 of the students do, with no more than the required deposit fee of $35, complete a 4-year standardized college course for a Bachelor of Science degree, and graduate with the deposit intact. He will receive no outside financial aid in all that time, and he will leave college equipped to do not one job to several. Self-Supporting College, Reader's Digest, May 1938. That same year, Eleanor Roosevelt devoted one of her daily columns to the school. At the special request of U.S. Secretary of State Cordell Hull, she visited Madison and reported on an interview with Floyd Brillier, Sutherland's brother-in-law. No student receives a degree until he or she has acquired 2 skills in any line which seems to fit their capacity. He, Floyd Brillier, had made a survey of 1,000 of his graduates, and not one among them had been forced to accept help either from the government or private agencies during these difficult years of the Great Depression. Eleanor Roosevelt, My Day, October 7, 1938. The following year, Madison's enrollment reached its highest, with nearly 500 students. From 1938 to 1940, there was a flurry of news articles about the school. Believe it or not, Robert Ripley called it the only self-supporting college in America. Madison College, Tennessee, only self-supporting college in America, receives no county, state, or federal aid. Buildings, grounds, and equipment costing $520,000, represents profits of 27 campus industries operated by the students. Ripley's Believe It or Not, February 16, 1939. When a food factory in nearby Edgefield closed down, Madison purchased the equipment in 1917. It became known as Madison Foods. By 1941, in this soybean factory, Beans were manufactured into 30 different food products which, in addition to what are consumed at the college, bring the institution a revenue of $60,000 a year. R. L. Holdman, Soybeans and College Degrees, Forward, February 1, 1941. Forward was the name of a Presbyterian publication. In 1938, a New York writer came to Madison and was astounded at what he found. The following description from a New York journal is very descriptive. Starting with some dilapidated farm buildings, 400 acres of worn land, and 11 students in 1904, the Nashville Agricultural Normal Institute at Madison, Tennessee, has grown into a modern marvel of success. The institute has, practically without endowment, put $520,000 from its own earnings into buildings, equipment, and additional acreage. There are now more than 300 students from 36 states and 9 foreign countries. 27 campus industries run by the students to support the college and themselves. Students must earn at least half their expenses, and it is preferred they earn all they spend in this manner. A mere $35 deposit is required when the student enters the school, and he may work his way entirely through the course he desires and receive his deposit back when he leaves. When he leaves the school, he will be equipped to perform from one to several trades. A health institute, as Madison is in an area lacking in medical facilities, is an important feature of the institute's facilities. Many new food products and improved methods of preparing and marketing foods have extended until it is now an extensive industry. Madison Foods is a line which is sold in many parts of the country through chain stores and in New York. Vigorous, made from soy leaf after the milk is extracted, is featured by a cafeteria chain in New York City. More than $60,000 of these foods are sold yearly. Food chemists of the school have been experimenting with 200 varieties of soybeans, eliminating objectionable taste and making them into delectable breakfast foods, breads, coffee substitutes, condensed milk, and meat substitutes, some of which look and taste like beef but are even more nutritious and digestible. The school has a broom factory which manufactures 50 dozen brooms daily and uses 25 acres of student-grown broom corn annually. The school sets the students an excellent example of self-sufficiency. It receives no aid from public funds and seeks none. Students work 5 hours and study 5 hours daily. Their work is credited against educational and living expenses at a basic rate of 10 cents per hour. Necessities, most of which are produced at the school, are sold at an equivalently low price. Most of the 120 buildings on the campus have been erected by student architects, carpenters, and the like. Insofar as possible, students are given their choice in kinds of work. Many other advantages have accrued to both the school and the students by this cooperative plan. Twice as many applications are made annually as the institute can receive. Preference is given to those who are poor and are expecting to earn all their expenses as they go. There should be about 10,000 such practical self-supporting institutes in this country. Such schools would greatly reduce the high educational tax levy and certainly would raise the standard of education to a much higher level of practicality. The New Day, June 16, 1938. In 1931, the farm produced 5,450 bushels of fruit and 8 tons of grape. The school canned 6,700 gallons of fruit and vegetables for use in the cafeteria. By the mid-1940s, Madison had 120 buildings. At one time, the institution had an acreage of 906 acres, with 789 acres at Madison and 117 at Ridgetop. There were more than 3,000 apple and peach trees at Ridgetop. It also owned a farm at Union Hill in Goodlettsville, Tennessee. By 1954, its 50th anniversary, Madison had a family of 125 workers living on campus, carrying on all the activities of the school, sanitarium, farm, and the many industries. 2 apartment houses and 11 cabins had been provided for workers, while 43 private homes belonged to the institution. The influence of Madison College has been felt throughout the world. Editorial, The Nashville Tennessean, October 7, 1954. One might ask, how could an organization which had so much and was doing so well later close down?